Hey, first of all, I need to know if you can hear me. This is Dr. Tracy. I'm going to open the chat window and so I can see who is here. I am the recording, so I just want to make sure that you know that. If you would do me a favor and in the chat window, please put in your name and when you will be graduating. I need to know those two things. So if you could go ahead and do that, I would greatly appreciate it. It looks like at this point we have 7 attendees. I hope we have a few more. I know it's difficult for everyone to try to find a common time, and this is an online course. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Raylyn, for your information. Okay, so what we're going to do this evening is take 30 minutes to go over the course to sort of set the tone for what's expected, and then to answer any basic questions that you have. I will end right at 6:30. When I say 30 minutes, I do mean 30 minutes because I know we're all very busy. So for those who are coming in late, make sure in the chat you put your name and when you plan to graduate. Okay, so let me know if you can see the screen, which is the first page, the home page of your Canvas course. Can someone just say, I can see that so that I know?
We can see it.
Yes, we can see
You,
it.
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So I'm going to walk you through the course, just the basics of the course. And then of course, I respond to emails within 24 hours. If you have any questions, reach out to me. And I'm fairly good and known for getting back to students. So we'll make it through this 7-week course and you'll be fine. If you do your part, I'll do my part. So this is the home page. One of the things I want to point out to you immediately is that I do send at least one announcement a week. So if you see something that comes through the course under announcements, please make sure that you look at that because it's always going to be information that is pertinent and important, relevant, and that you need to have. So make sure you read the announcements. Okay, let's go through the course syllabus now, and you can certainly look at this on your own when you have more time. But let's take a minute to breeze through it and see what stands out. Okay, some of the information in the syllabus is just basic information. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but I do want to point out two important parts here to the syllabus. I want to point out that, let's see, I'm getting somebody's camera in the way here. Okay, I do want to point out the methods of evaluation and the calendar. Those are the two things I'm going to go over from the concourse syllabus with you tonight. There are discussion posts. There are 4 posts that are worth 25 points each. The discussion post will not begin until week 2, so you do not have a discussion post for this first week. You will, however, have a quiz, and there are 6 quizzes. This is a 7-week course, so you'll have a quiz starting this week all the way up through the 6th week. So the post will start next week and end at the 6th week. So please make sure that you respond on time with those. I will say that for the discussion post, it is very important that you know this, and it's reinforced in the instructions that are given to you for the post. But for the discussion posts that begin next week, you must have your initial response in by Friday. Everything is due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. But your initial post for the discussion has to be turned in by Friday midnight. That's so that others in the class can respond to your post. If you're turning in your initial post for Sunday at 11:59, no one will have an opportunity to respond to your post. And that's not what we want to do. So I will reinforce that with you, but I just wanted to point that out now because I always have at least one student say, I did not know the discussion post, initial post was due Friday at midnight. Well, it is. And then your post, along with the 2 responses to your classmates, all of that, the final part is due on Sunday at midnight. There is a POLC group plan. We'll be talking a lot about the POLC in this class. The whole class is based on that strategy for managing businesses. POLC stands for planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, 4 parts. By the end of the class, you'll have intimate knowledge of each of those 4 parts. There is a group project that is worth 150 points. It includes 100 individual points that you will, as an individual student, contribute to the group project, and then 50 points for the whole group. Everybody in the group will get those same points, up to 50. There is a micro internship that's part of this course. I'll explain more about what that is here in a little bit. There are 2 parts to the micro internship, and it is related to the POLC, so it all kind of blends together. But the micro internship documentation, this is going to be a virtual internship, so you don't have to actually be somewhere at a particular time. Everything is online and remote and virtual. But that part of the project is worth 75, and then you will do a presentation of your micro internship for 5 minutes as a group, and that is also worth 75 points. So that's how your grading for the course is laid out for this 7 weeks. Now let's look at the calendar. Again, each week you have a quiz this week. There is also a readiness assignment. Excuse me. You'll want to make sure that you read that first part about how the course is designed and some of the assignments. So you want to make sure that you do go through the readiness assignment at the beginning, and then read the content for Module 1 and then take the quiz. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the discussion posts begin week 2. Your group project outline is due. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And you'll get to see what groups you're in. And then, of course, there's another quiz. So weeks 3, excuse me, 4 and 5, you will have the discussion post and a quiz those 3 weeks. But in the background, you'll be working on your micro internship and your POLC paper. So you will find out a little bit more about those tonight. We'll go ahead and get started on what those are all about. And then, in the background, you're going to be working on those for the next 7 weeks. And then in week 6, the projects, the POLC project itself is due. You have your final quiz. And then week 7, your micro internship assignment is due. So of the big projects, they're each worth 150 points. One is due week 6 and one is due week 7. So that's how your assignments are laid out. I tried to make everything as straightforward as possible so that there will not be a lot of confusion, because we're not going to have time for any confusion in this class. Okay, let's go to modules. All right, so when we talk about the readiness module, that's this module here. So I'm not going to read through all of this with you, but please make sure that you do go through this. So this read first talks about the course design itself. So it just explains how everything is laid out, where the content comes from, and just some basics about the class itself. The second part of the read first readiness module is instructor information. That's just a little bit about me, a little quick video, because I won't get to see you face to face and in person unless, I try to. If you want to meet, I will be glad to meet with you. But this helps you understand me. And then at the end, when you do your videos, it will help me see you. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. The introductory Zoom recording and planning info for this course. This is what we're doing tonight, but I wanted to go through this because it has your group assignments. At the end of this meeting, I will post and attach the recording here. So if you want to go back and review what we've talked about tonight, then you can go here to the readiness module and look at the video again. So the POLC project. we're going to work with a nonprofit business, and we're going to help that business with some of their management issues and concerns. So we're going to be a class of 18. There are 18 of you, 18 consultants working for this not-for-profit. The name of the not-for-profit is New Beginnings in Claremont. Now they have real issues they want us to work on. So to me, that is so exciting and meaningful because it's not just some book assignment we're doing. We're really doing something to help someone. And at the same time, you're going to be learning a lot about management strategies and the POLC, the planning, organizing, leading, and controlling that go into that management of a business. So I'm excited about the Work for New Beginnings. So the groups each will have questions to answer. These are research questions. And these research questions are going to come together. Everybody's going to contribute, and you're going to write a paper. So that's the POLC project, is there's research, there's questions, and then you put it all together, and that's the paper/project for the POLC. So let's look at the groups for this summer for the POLC. These are randomly assigned, and some groups have 5 because we have 18 students. So the leading and controlling groups have 5 students. There's a little bit more involved in those 2 categories of the POLC. And the other 2, planning and organizing, have 4 students. So you'll want to make sure that you see what group you're in. Now, because next week your POLC group plan is due, and it has always worked out. I've never had yet, and I've taught this particular course, I don't know, 7 or 8 times. I've never had a group come back and say, we just couldn't pick a leader. Every group will need to have a group leader. Now, how you decide as a member of a particular group, how that person is selected, voted on, anointed, volunteered, that's going to be up to you. You're baccalaureate students. You can figure this out. But every group needs to have a leader because that leader is going to be the one who turns in that report, that 1-page overview of your POLC that's due next week. We'll look at that in just a minute to give you a heads up. But that the grade that is given for that, and if you complete all parts, you'll get the 50 points. But everyone in the group gets the same number of points. But the group leader submits it. So these are the groups for your POLC paper. Now you also have the micro internship, and here are the groups for that. Now the micro internship, in addition to helping New Beginnings with the POLC part of their business, they've asked us if we can help them in these 4 areas. And this is what your micro internship is going to be about. There's a group that's going to work on brand identity. Now, I will tell you, New Beginnings is a not-for-profit, and what they are doing is they are raising money to build Innovation Village, which is a village for homeless people in the area. And what an exciting project, but there's a lot of business and management that goes into that. You just can't wish it and make it happen. So they want us to develop a brand identity for their Innovation Village. What colors for the brand, tagline, hashtags, little catchy sayings. So these 5 students will be the group for that micro internship working on brand identity. They also want us to engage in some social media to try to help them out with their Innovation Village. So they would like us to propose a social media video series. We don't have to actually do the video series unless you want to do a mock video where you interview someone who you pretend is a resident of Innovation Village, to sort of give us what it looks like. So you could certainly do that. But they want a video series of success stories. And this is just an example from tent to title, one person's journey. So make a calendar showing how these little video series vignettes will work. But you might have, a series success stories, of a family or a single mom or, a senior citizen who was homeless or, just different. But you have to propose what that series and those success stories will be. And you'll see there are 4 students in this group. Now, they also want a group of you to plan one creative interactive event for the community. And this is just an example, Vision Night for Innovation Village. So you have storytelling and you invite some donors, people who might be able to contribute monetarily to Innovation Village. But you will need to plan what that event looks like. And you can find all kinds of examples of some of these things out there. There are other villages like Innovation Village. So this is another part of research, but you also get to be creative, and this is a great learning opportunity for you as students in a management class. So create an event. And then last is this group will develop a strategy for different types of donors. And this is a little bit more expanded. So this group has 5. So the development strategy will be, you'd have to decide what kinds of strategy for different donors. Now you're going to have to read a little bit about donors. Legacy givers are those people who give money, who their families give money. They have family money. Corporate sponsors, these are people who work at like a Duke Energy, that kind of thing. The monthly advocates, these are just people like you and I who support and they care and they want to give and they want to give back. So those are 3 different groups of people. So if you're going to develop a strategy for these donors, the strategies will look a little bit different for each of those 3 groups. So I think each of these micro internship opportunities are exciting. I can't wait to see what you come up with and how this unfolds. Now, as you can see, the groups for the micro internship are different than the groups for your POLC project. That is intentional because I hear people all the time, students saying, I work with these people in the group, but I really would like to work with someone else for something, So you're going to have a chance. You'll be in 2 groups. So for the POLC project, you'll have to decide of the people in your group who is the leader. When you get to the micro internship groups, and I will let you know when I need to have that person identified, you're going to have a leader as well. So be thinking about leadership role. Some of you may want to be leaders and let the rest of your group members know that you'd like to jump in and do that. So here's an overview of the POLC. Remember that paper, okay, that everyone's going to contribute to. I try to make things easy for students. So I have put together guidelines for the paper that describe as a report the format. Now, each student, there are research questions for each of those 4 topics, the POLC. There are research questions for each one. Each student in the group will have one of the questions. And for that one question, you have to have 3 pages double spaced with information about your research. Now, what happens when all is said and done? That's your contribution. Remember when we said there's an individual score and a group score for the POLC? The 100 points is your individual 3-page contribution. We put them all together, those 3 pages, and some students will have more. Some have 5, that's fine, but at least 3. When we put it all together, that is the report. So that report will end up being, with references and title page and everything, probably, 15 pages. So that's going to be a really nice report, but your individual student contribution is 3 pages. Now, as a group, you do want to make sure your report flows, that it's not choppy and obviously, different from one section to the next. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the semester. So the POLC will have a structure. There will be a planning group, and this is what your title page will look like. You'll have the group members in there, and there's an introductory paragraph for the report. And I put something together to help you a little bit with new beginnings. Okay, the body of your paper, this is where you organize the paper around that specific research question that you have. Now, you are in the BAS program, so you should know a little bit about APA. I have a refresher short guide to APA if you need it in the Canvas shell, but you should already know something about APA. In other words, I'm not going to take a lot of time to explain it to you because I'm assuming you already know it. Now, here is what that looks like. Here's the plan. Okay, so for the paper, so the planning group, you can see that this is what they want us to do. This is the background information for each of those 4 areas about Innovation Village. Below that are the questions, the research areas. So you're going to have to decide as a student and as a group which one of these you want. Again, this is where you develop your 3-page paper. So if you're in the planning group and you say, okay, so I think I like that, steps for transitional housing to home ownership. You're going to have to read a little bit about that. First of all, what does that mean, transitional housing? What does that look like? You're going to have to do research. So that's part of the 3 pages. And then, so once you do your research, you're going to have to come up with, okay, here are the steps for transitional housing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's your 3 pages, again, based on your research, and that will be your contribution. So each of those should have the same number of questions that with the number of members in your group. And we did have some students come on board, so I'm going to have to add another question to leading and another question to controlling. I'll do that tomorrow. So there will be a question 5 here and a question 5 here because those 2 groups have 5 members. But so you can see, as a group, you'll decide the top, which topic you want to have. Now, when you turn in your 1-page outline of your POLC next week, you're going to have to identify some of the roles and responsibilities, and I'll show that to you in a minute. But this page is really important about what your paper needs to focus on. Okay. I will put together, I just haven't done it yet, but I will do it within the next week. I'll put together a sample paper for you. We do have some great student papers. This project is a little bit different, so I don't have one that's exactly like this project. I try to change it up each class, but I have something that's close that will give you an idea of how to structure this. Okay? All right, so that's the POLC project. Now, the micro internship project, again, if you go up here, you'll see the group members for the micro internship project. But here we talk about those projects again. But I talk a little bit more here about what is a micro internship and how does it work. When you're finished with this, you will get a badge for a micro internship and a certificate because that's kind of a neat thing. You're involved in a real world activity, and we call those micro internships if they are a combined effort of 10 hours, and yours will be at least 10 hours. I have no problems identifying that as a 10-hour project. Okay, so hear this again, and then you submit the micro internship. You do have to go in and register the micro internship with the college. You have to do this before you get the badge and the certificate. The instructions for how to do that are in here, and I'll make sure that everyone understands, but most students don't have any issue with doing this, but they find the micro internships, they really like this part of the course. Okay, so this is all under, if we go back to the modules, this is all under the introductory Zoom recording and planning for the POLC and micro internship. So again, that's why that career readiness module, it doesn't have an opening and closing date. It's going to always be open, so you can go back and refer to that information if you need it. Okay. All right. So I want to move on down. Each of the modules has reading. Everything that you need is in the module. These are called Open Educational Resources, OER. And it's out of Rice University in Texas. We've been given permission to use this content, so you don't have to buy a book. So everything is in the module. There are questions after the end and summaries and all of that, but I think it's very well put together. The internship prep, there is one other thing that for week 1, and that is I need to know at least one question you have at this point about the POLC project and the micro internships. If you have any questions, this is where you put it. I will put all the questions together, if there are any, and shoot them back out to everybody. Because if you have a question, I'm assuming that somebody else in the class has a question. But that's part of this week's assignment, is in addition to the quiz 1, that you let me know with at least one question about something that you're not sure of. So that's week 1. Now let's jump to week 2, because this is where you submit the group plan. I want to show you what that looks like. This is next week, not this first week. Your group leader, whomever that person ends up being, will be the person who submits this to me. And again, I know who's in the group, so I know who's going to get that grade. But that one person, the group leader, submits this information, and the maximum points are 50 points. I usually, like I said, give students all 50 unless there's something missing or I have some questions or you didn't complete the project. Then you wouldn't get the 50 points. Okay, so which section of the POCLC does your group have? It's going to be one of these: P, planning; O, organizing; L, leading; or C, controlling. So that will go there, which is your section. Who are the group members? Now, I know this already, but I need for you to put that in there for me. And then identify who the group leader is. Now, you will need to identify, and I'll put number 5 on here for the 2 groups, leading and controlling, who have 5 members. But you have to let me know which group member has what question. Okay, so by next week, you'll have to pick out which of those research questions you want to contribute to the POLC project. There are 2 required meetings. You have to go ahead and let me know the meetings for your group to come together to discuss the POLC project. So I need a date and a time for those. And this is due week 6. Now there's a similar format that is also for the micro internship, and that will be for the week after that. So, but you'll have to identify again who the group leader is for micro internships, and when you're going to be meeting as a group to go over, that particular project. Okay, so let's go back then to the modules. Okay, I'm going to view it as a student. Okay, all right, so this is what you see. All right, one of the things that that I wanted to point out is that every assignment has a rubric that goes along with it. And the rubrics are, they try to be as extensive as possible so that everything is spelled out for you. Here's an example of the open response essay rubric. So for your essay questions, your quizzes, by the way, are open response. So this is how the quiz responses are graded. Each quiz response is worth 20 points. So when you get your grade, you will know, and I will let you know, you've got however many for the content, however many for the quality of the writing and grammar and usage. So that's the open response question rubric that goes along with the weekly quizzes for the first 6 weeks. There's also a rubric for the discussion post. There's a rubric for the POLC project, and there's a rubric and a checklist for the micro internship. So again, everything is spelled out in the rubric. I always remind students to look at the rubric as you're putting your assignments together, because that's what I use to grade. So you'll want to have all of that in place. Okay, so that is a quick overview of the course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing at this point. And all right, so let me ask if there are any questions from anyone at this stage of the game. Okay, no questions? All right, well, it's 6:29, so we are going to end at 6:30. And I will point out that I live in a historic house in Ohio for a few weeks in the summer. So I'm visiting there this week. So that's what you see in the background. It's like living in a museum. But anyway, this is like some really old stuff. So, but anyway, so I'm back next week. If you want to meet with me in person on the Leesburg campus, or I can come to Claremont, just let me know if you want to sit down and talk or some things are not clear. I'll be glad to do that. But if there are no questions or concerns or anything for the good of the order, then I will say thank you so much for attending. And I look forward to working with you this semester, and just so excited about the New Beginnings project, that Innovation Village. We're going to try to help them out there. So I'm sure we can do that. All right. Okay. If there aren't any concerns or questions, have a great evening, everyone, and make sure you get everything in for week 1 and on time. Okay? All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.